Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men. We're here today to review Jesse James Outlaw Whiskey.
Always drink upstream from the herd.
It was another requested whiskey by Justin Schmidt.
Schmitty Warben Jagerman Jensen.
Yeah, you remember him.
Yeah.
He said this was bourbon he really liked and he thought it'd be cool for us to review. And I think he's going to like our review a little bit more than Craig probably did. Here's what's bad. Our last review was Knob Creek. Knob Creek, that bottle cost me almost $40. This bottle didn't even cost me 20 bucks. Which do you like better?
The Jesse James. Hands down.
Me too. So, that just goes to show you that price does not always a good bourbon make. Now, we're going to give Knob Creek a second crack because we had like one of the best bourbons we've ever had right before we shot that video. We feel it may have influenced our review a little bit.
Could have.
You might, Craig, if you're watching this, you might squeeze an extra point out of us.
Maybe.
Because I had tried it before, and then trying it that day was when I finally made my decision. But anyway, on to Jesse James Outlaw Whiskey. This is a much younger whiskey. This is at least 24 months old, so it has a 2-year age date.
I don't know if it's older bottles or newer bottles, but now, or I've seen other ones that say at least 36 months old.
As opposed to 24.
Yeah, which is the...
Yeah, maybe it was different based on the year it was bottled. Like they just had less a certain year than they actually needed. Because I know it's gotten really popular since he started making this. And I think that's cool because I really like Jesse James Dupree, and I know you're about to get to all that, but I know he makes this, and I want him to succeed. So
there's also with the Outlaw Spirits, the bourbon, they also did beer.
Really?
Yeah.
I know they did. His partners at the Full Throttle Saloon did Full Throttle Saloon Shine.
Yeah.
But I didn't know they did beer. Anyway, you want to tell them all that stuff you wrote down about the whiskey?
Yeah. That's whiskey. Came out in 2010 when Jesse James Dupree created Jesse James Spirits. This was a line of alcoholic beverages, including the bourbon and the beer we just mentioned.
Yeah. I've never tried the beer. I want to find it now.
I couldn't find anything. I just said that they had the beer too.
You might want to speak up, by the way. We were pretty quiet in our last video.
Like this? Is this speaking up?
Speak up.
But yeah, there's beer, the bourbon, created by Jesse James Dupree, who named it after Jesse James, the Outlaw. And I'm guessing at least a little bit himself.
Mm-hmm. I think he was named after Jesse James the Outlaw, so by naming it after the same guy, he at least made it a sibling, if you will.
Fair enough. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do think it could have sat in... It could be... I think it's a little young.
Yeah, they should have taken it to at least 4. I think because we had this conversation the other day, I think what you're attributing to youth. Okay.
I mean, that's what
I'm attributing
for.
I'm attributing to thinness. It feels thin. It feels watery. I feel like they maybe watered it down too much. Could you not?
You're...
Shh. Peach.
Yeah, I would also be interested in trying a cask strength.
They released, I don't know if they released a cask strength. They released a single barrel that I think is cask strength. It's like $30 a bottle. It's not that.
Ooh, break the bank.
Yeah.
Have you seen it around? Like, where can I get it at?
Cork and Barrel.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it their Tennessee whiskey?
They have the Tennessee whiskey too, but they had one of their bourbon also.
Really?
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have to try that.
Yeah. Because I think if you gave this 4 or 6 years, it would be much better. But it has all the makings of a really good classic bourbon.
Oh yeah.
I know when I am a broke son of a bitch, and I am buying cheap whiskey for the sake of having whiskey to drink, I like to alternate between this and Jim Beam, and then turkey sometimes, but turkey's a little more. So, because I don't buy regular wild turkey, I buy 101 or nothing. But you get all your classic bourbon notes, your red apples, and caramel. It smells like there's a little honey in this one. And I mean, on the taste, you get right what you'd expect. There's a wood note to it, which is pretty good considering it didn't sit in wood very long. I'm curious as to where they age it though, because it's bottled in California. I assumed it was aged in Tennessee with the rest of their stuff, but
I'm not.
maybe it's aged in California. Because if it's aged in California, if they don't have to age it as long for it to age like it's aging more than if it were in Kentucky or Tennessee. Hotter climates age whiskey faster, basically. Is that incorrect?
Nope.
Also, if you don't know who Jesse James Dupree is, because I know we said his name a few times, he's the lead singer of a rock band called Jackyl. And if you haven't heard of them, you should totally look them up. But they're a really good band. They sound a lot like AC/DC. But
didn't they do a couple songs at least with
Brian Johnson, yeah, of AC/DC.
Formerly
of AC/DC, yeah. Locked and Loaded is a really good one that he recorded with Brian Johnson, but he often does with his son Nigel Dupree.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that one's amazing. So I would definitely recommend Jesse James Outlaw Bourbon Whiskey. I'd also recommend his music.
Yes. I'm sorry, I got caught up with the tag. It's got the Peacemaker and talking about the Outlaw.
Yeah, and any of you that don't know the story of Jesse James the Outlaw, I don't know how you don't, but you should look it up. It's cool. You're un-American.
Okay. I was gonna say your parents failed. But.
Yeah. I think I would give this whiskey a solid 7.
Yeah, 7.5.
I'd give it an 8 if they just aged it a little longer. If it was a little less thin, maybe if they just hadn't watered it down quite as much.
Yeah, I think
whichever of those two things it needs to make it feel less thin and watery.
I think being at just a little higher proof would do this a lot.
Yeah, a little bit higher proof. It's also really friendly, which I've come to appreciate less in whiskeys than I used to. Because it's not super complex, I don't think about it as much. It's like a whiskey that you would sip right if you're just drinking socially. It's not a whiskey to drink to really test your palate unless you're just starting out and you want classic bourbon notes.
Or if you're kind of busy, working on a vehicle or splitting logs or something. It's one you could just sip on and...
Yeah. Yeah, if you were to keep it in, say, a flask, I think it wouldn't be a bad flask budget whiskey.
No, not at all. This would be great in like a 6-ounce flask.
Yep. Actually, by the time this comes out, we're going to have announced it. So, you guys, we announced this week that we are releasing our first product, a Dirt Road Men whiskey box. It is a starter set / all-encompassing, I would say, set of what you need to get started with whiskey. And if you already like whiskey, it's still good to have. It talks about things like tasting notes. We send you a booklet for tasting notes that we have here. I show you a box, but the finish is drying on them right now.
The deductive whiskey tasting book.
Yep, we've shown it to you in a couple videos before, but you will get this. You'll get a couple glasses. You will get some whiskey stones and a 6-ounce flask, and a small sheet talking about learning to pull tasting notes out of whiskey. And so it can serve as a little porta-bar because it's also in a really nice...
I like that.
Yeah. It also comes
That's
in a nice... I think other people have used the term porta-bar before.
Somebody's trademarked it. I was not lying.
Oh, okay. It's also coming in some, I think, fairly nice handmade boxes. So, yeah, we've announced those. I am hoping to make a trailer for it soon, but you probably won't have one this week per se. But definitely check our website. I'll put the link below for the whiskey box, and we will have some kind of promo for you as well for the announcement, so you hopefully have already seen it. If not, I'll link that below as well. So, I think that kind of wraps up everything for this whiskey and this Whiskey Wednesday. So until we see you again, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men.
If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, drop us a comment, and check out our Facebook page for daily updates.